Hi guys, good morning. I hope you are able to hear me. Can anyone please confirm?
Yes, Master.
Yes,
Thank
sir. Hi, good morning, sir.
you. Very good morning. Yeah, so this is Bhaskar. I'm having 14 plus years of IT experience, and I started my career with Microsoft Business Intelligence, and later I got an opportunity to work for Microsoft. I was there for more 8 years, and there I adopted Microsoft Power BI, then I adopted Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. And currently, I'm working for one of the Indian-based company from Hyderabad. So this is orally about me and what we are going to discuss as part of this Azure data engineering. So in today's session, I'm going to talk about why we need to go for Azure data engineering and what we are going to deal. What are the primary responsibilities of Azure data engineer or data engineer? When I see this term, Azure data engineering, I have a data here. That means we are going to always deal with the data. Here, the primary and only one role is dealing with the data. So we are responsible to provide the data to the downstream systems. There are various downstream systems we are going to have it. So we are going to take the data from the different places. We are going to process the data and we are going to give the data to the downstream systems. So that means as a data engineer, we are going to implement ETL processing or ELT processing. We are going to implement ETL processing or ELT processing. Let's say, for example, from where we are going to take the data. So that will be the question. As a data engineer, we need to have a data. Someone has to give the data for us. That someone is the business users or let me say like business systems. So just for an example, I'm running a business. If you want to run the business, then definitely we require database. Okay, if we require database. If you take a Flipkart, they have their own data sources or data stores to store their regular data, regular day-to-day activities data. In the same way, if you take Amazon, a banking, insurance, any business, for every business is required a data store. The data store, I wanted to say it is OLTP system. I wanted to say it is a OLTP system, or I wanted to call it as a generally as a data store or data source. We can also call it as a data source, or we can also call it as a data store. So this is an online transactional processing system. As a customer, you can order a product. I can order a product. Many customers are going to, many persons are going to be customers of the business. If you take a banking, we're all going to have an account in some bank. That may be HDFC or ICICI, any bank. So we're all customers to generate the business or to generate the transactions. So the customers are going to make a transactions through some applications. I don't want to take that. I wanted to say all these people are going to make the day-to-day transactions in the business. At some point of time, at some location for some products, through some channels, they're going to order the products. So those transaction details are going to store in the system called OLTP system. So this is the source for us. As a data engineer, we are going to take the data from here. As a data engineer, we are going to take the data from here. So what is the data, first of all? How this data is going to be generated? Is data is there in the form of numbers, in the form of text? 100% is yes. So we are going to have a data in the form of different flavors. So data means it's a raw fact. So data will be there in the form of numbers. So when you make a transaction, definitely you're going to choose how many products you wanted to order or you wanted to take. And the same time, you're going to make a amount of transaction, right? The price, the cost is also is a number. So the data is going to be there in the form of numbers, and the customer names and all customer names, location names, product names, store names, all this are going to be text in the form of text. And we are going to make an order at some point of time. So we are going to have a date and time in the form of date and time also. And we are going to have images, we are going to have videos, and so on. So these are all going to be data only. These are all going to be data. So as the data engineer, we need to process the data. Then you may have a doubt why Azure data engineers or why data engineers, how it was done previously. So in the previously, the same data engineers were used to call as a ETL developers. ETL developers are now we are calling as a data engineers. So since we are going to work with Azure, specifically Azure, we were called as a Azure data engineers. If you work with the GCP, then you are a GCP data engineers. If you are going to work with the AWS data engineers, all the people, all the roles with the different platforms, the responsibility of them is to handle the data processing. To handle the data processing. So this is how the data is going to be there even in the previous I'm saying. So when you have a data in the business systems, this system we can also call it as a business system. You just imagine. I wanted to process the data. So before Azure data engineer or before data engineer, how the people used to process the data that I wanted to tell you. So once you have a data here, just give me a minute. So once you have a data, how exactly you're going to process is in the traditional approach. Data processing, or we can also say ETL processing. Traditional approach. So how people used to do previously. There are many ETL tools were there, even now in the market. So people are slowly started moving towards to the cloud platforms. Whatever I'm saying here, the traditional approach, this traditional approach is completely on-prem. There are many reasons are there to come out of the on-prem. I'll give that. Since we are going to deal with the data, I wanted to talk about data related process. So I'm not here to talk about what are the differences between on-prem and cloud. It's a different story. So we'll talk about after some point of time, but I wanted to concentrate more on the data processing as we are going to work with the data. So how exactly the people used to do previously is, previously we were having traditional ETL tools. The traditional tools, we can say SSIS from the Microsoft. It's one of the ETL tool from the Microsoft. There were many projects or existed with the same SSIS. And not only that, we have a data stage. We have a data stage and we have a Informatica. So like this, there are many ETL tools are there. There are many ETL tools are available in the market, even now in the market. So by using this traditional ETL tools, I started basically my career with SSIS and Informatica. Informatica I just worked with 6 months, and later I moved towards to the SSIS. Because of that reason, I was there with Azure Data Engineering, because these are all Microsoft tools. Okay, so all these tools are going to extract the data from the various data sources. They're going to extract the data from the various data sources. The data source may be anything. The data source, I'm just saying OLTP system means that may be Oracle, that may be SQL Server, that may be MySQL, whatever it is. There is some data in the data store. So the process of taking data from any kind of source in the ETL processing, we can call it as a extraction. We can call it as a extraction. Without writing the code, we can extract the data from the business systems. And we can apply transformations. We can apply transformations with the help of this particular tools, even without writing the code. So transformation means it's a process of changing the data from one format to another format, or we are going to save the data. We are going to talk about more in detail as part of our Azure data engineering. So once you have done the transformation, your target is going to be again a database. But this database is not a OLTP system. We can call it as a OLAP system. Or we can also call it as a data warehouse. Most of you may be aware of it. Data warehouse. So I'm just saying here directly data warehouse, but basically there is a staging databases, and from the staging database, it will flow into the data warehouse. So I don't want to go in that particular level, as we are not going to work with the traditional approach. We are going to work with the medallion architecture. So how exactly it is going to be there, we are going to see that. So once we have done the required transformation with this particular tools, we used to load the data into the data warehouse. So this system is specifically designed for running of the business. We can make the transactions. I mean to say customers are going to always connected with the business system. When you order a product in Amazon, that Amazon app is going to connect with their OLTP system to have the transaction details. So to understand the business as a business user, as a business stakeholder, then definitely we need to have access to this. All the transaction details, historical data from the day one of your business is going to have in the data warehouse. The system is specifically designed for analysis. So when you run the business, we need to do the analysis as a business user. So business user is responsible to understand the business, what is happening, and what we need to take as steps to grow in the business, to expand the business, or to get more profit in the business. So definitely they have to do the analysis. So how they're going to do analysis? This is going to be there in the form of data, in the form of rows and columns. So users, as a business user, you cannot understand. Of course, even as a ETL developer or as a data engineer, we cannot understand even. So we need to, I mean to say, someone has to transform this data into information. So that means reporting team is required here. The reporting team is going to create a reports here. So there are reporting tools are available in the market, like Microsoft Power BI from Microsoft. We have a Tableau BI, Looker BI, SSRS, something like this. There are many reporting tools were there. So this was not our job. This is completely ETL developers. Previously, we used to do, even I did in my experience. I started my career with traditional ETL processing. Now the problem is later some point of time, the problem occurred. When the data was introduced, when the data was growing like anything, when the social media came into picture, when unstructured data came into picture, when semi-structured data came into picture, then the problems were started. So this was fine when there is only structured data, when there was only less transactions, when there was no expanding in the data. It was fine. So 2 decades ago or 1.5 decade ago, all these tools are fine. But slowly problems are started. The problem is the data was increased like anything. So two problems were there. There were two problems with the traditional approach. The problem one is data storage. So when there was a huge volume of data, when the more transactions are getting increased because the smart mobiles came into market and people are making transactions like anything. We used to do many transactions through online only, right? So data was started getting increased. So since the data was increased, the storage problem is the first problem in the traditional systems faced. And the second problem is as data was increasing, then the processing also is a problem. The data processing also was one of the big problem. These two were the big problems faced by traditional systems. So from here, this ETL tools started facing some issues. When the business is moving to out of these tools, then definitely they're going to lose the market. So how we can provide the solution when there is a situations? So that point of time, Hadoop was introduced. Hadoop came into the picture. Hadoop came into the picture. These two problems, we are calling this as a big data. We are going to call this as a big data. Okay, so let me give a definition for that. What is a big data? When you have a data, the data that cannot be stored in your system, a data that cannot be stored in your system is known as a big data. I have some system. You just imagine my laptop is having 500 GB space. More than 500 GB I cannot store. Or my system is having 1 TB. I cannot store more than 1 TB. And if you take a Gmail can allow up to 25 MB. If it is greater than 25 MB, you cannot send an email. Attachments of more than 25 MB is not possible. So in terms of Gmail, 25 MB is the big data because it's not possible to store. It's not possible to attach. So when you have some storage, if that storage exceeds by your data, then that data is known as a big data. So I'm just saying in simple term, the data that cannot be stored in your system is known as a big data. Or data that cannot be processed with your system is known as big data. So the data that cannot be stored in your system, the data that cannot be processed with your system, that particular kind of data can be called as a big data. Okay, so to provide the solution for this big data, because this system, the traditional ETL services or tools were not capable enough to provide the solution for your big data. Now, how can we provide the solution for big data? That point of time, that for that particular point of time, Hadoop came into the picture. And not only this, there is one more thing also was faced. I wanted to say that as well. Not only this, I wanted to say the characteristics of big data is 3 ways we used to call. So later there are multiple ways also. I don't want to go into that level. So volume, more volume of data, varieties of the data, and velocity of the data. So varieties means we can say we are going to have a structured data, structured, and semi-structured also has started, and unstructured. So when you go for traditional approach, what happens is there was only structured data. In this particular case, there was only structured data. But when it comes to here, when the market has started the big data, the varieties of the data was introduced, more volume of data coming into the market. So we need to process faster. So for that reason, the traditional ETL tools were not capable enough to process the data. So Hadoop came into the picture. The same thing I just wanted to take. You may have a data in the form of structure. You're going to have a structured data here. So this is a database only. You may have a data in the database. In the same way, you may also have a data in the file system also. You can also have a data in the file system. Semi-structured data. Later, some of the databases also supported semi-structured data. But the starting age of a big data, the all databases were supposed to have only structured data. Now the current databases also is having a capable enough to handle the semi-structured data. It's a different story. In the same way, I can also have a unstructured data, the plain text. The plain text, we can call it as the unstructured data. So when you write a review about any product, that reviews comes under unstructured data. When you write an email, the email also is going to be unstructured data. The email also is going to be unstructured data. So all these things I wanted to say. For all these things, I wanted to call all these things I wanted to say as a data sources. God, something is missed. Okay. So this I wanted to say as data sources. So wherever you're having a data, that I wanted to call it as a data sources. So what Hadoop used to do here is whatever this traditional ETL tools were doing, the same thing can be done with the Hadoop also. Can be done with the even Hadoop also. So Hadoop can extract the data from the data sources. Here also we can call it as an extraction. And we can do the transformation with the Hadoop. And your target is going to be HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. Hadoop distributed file system. You can load the data into Hadoop distributed file system. And this Hadoop is 100% coding. You have to write 100% coding. And this is one of the big problem for us. The solution, the people can provide the solution for the big data by using the Hadoop, by with the help of MapReduce programming. I don't want to go into the details of Hadoop. I just wanted to say by using Hadoop also, we can provide the solution for your big data. So when we are already having Hadoop to provide the solution for your big data, why Azure data engineering come into the picture? There are many problems are there with the Hadoop. I'll give a few problems. The very first problem is 100% coding. That too, you have to write too many lines of the code. Too many lines of the code. And initially, it was introduced with the Java only. Okay. We're all ETL developers. There were many SSIS projects for existed before Hadoop. There were many Informatica projects that existed before Hadoop. So this Java developers may not have a control on the ETL processing. And ETL developers are not going to have a full control on the Java because we are not a Java developers. So that is one of the problem. Understanding of the ETL processing and is a problem by Java developers, and understanding of the Java is a problem for ETL developers, original ETL developers. And that you have to write too many lines of the code. It's very, very, very difficult. And you need to have an on-prem cluster. Okay, so multiple systems, I mean to say cluster comes into the picture when the Hadoop was introduced. So instead of doing a work with a single person, Hadoop was started to do the same work with multiple persons so that the work will be faster. The data will be distributed. This HDFS is a Hadoop distributed file system. I'll give a clarity later at the time of ADLS from the Microsoft Azure. So later the reporting team will take care about rest of the things. But this is a problem here. The problem is you have to spend a lot of amount. You have to spend a lot of time, lot of investment. I don't want to do that. My customers are not interested to do that. So if that is the case, then the new generation of the services were introduced. Solution by next generation. So what are the next generation services we are having is by Azure services, we can provide a solution for your big data. And GCP services also, by using GCP services also, we can provide a solution for your big data. And AWS services also can be used to provide the solution for your big data because all the services are cloud services. The next generation services are cloud services. So cloud was introduced in the market a decade ago and slowly started moving towards to the cloud. The entire solution, your Hadoop solutions are ready to move to the cloud solutions, and your traditional ETL projects also still was there in the market. So those services also is started moving towards the cloud is because to reduce the cost. We don't need to care about infrastructure. We don't need to care about operating systems. We don't need to care about any patches, updates, or anything. Everything will be taken care by cloud vendors. So I'll give a little more details about it in the first session of our Azure Data Engineering. So here I'm just going to talk what we are going to discuss. So by using this, by using the next generation services, we can provide the solution I'll just give some little more detail about specific to Azure data engineering. To provide the solution for your big data, we need to use Azure services as we're going to work as Azure data engineers. Even the title I kept here, Azure data engineering with ADF, Azure Data Factory, and Azure Databricks. These two are very, very important. If you're not aware of these two, you cannot work with Azure data engineer. When you know these two, you can work with the Microsoft Fabric, you can work with the signups. These two are the main services that we need to know about it. So when you have a data in the same way, when you have a data, let me take this part. I'm having a data in the same way, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Azure Data Factory in order to extract the data. In order to extract the data, I'm going to use Azure Data Factory. And I'm not going to do the transformation. We are just going to feed the data into the target. So I'm just trying to say what we are going to do with the Azure data engineering. So in place of this HDFS, the same kind of storage also is available in the Microsoft, that is ADLS. ADLS Gen 2. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, I'm having it. So this is a target for this. So this process of extracting and feeding the data into the ADLS Gen 2, this process, we can call it as a data ingestion. We can call it as a data ingestion. This is the primary responsibility of the data engineer. Without data ingestion, you are not going to work as a data engineer. Everyone has to do it. Why we need to go for data ingestion is when the data is landed in the business systems, you have to process the data. So in order to process it, in the first stage that you are going to do is you have to ingest the data into the ADLS Gen 2. Why we need to ingest the data into ADLS Gen 2? We'll talk about it. There is a specific reasons to ingest the data into the ADLS Gen 2 before doing the transformation. And the second stage of your activity is your ADLS Gen 2 will be the source for the next activity. The next activity is going to have a ADLS Gen 2. So I'm going to take here the same to same service that you're going to have here is you can use the ADF. Apart from the ADF, you can also use ADB, Azure Databricks. So this is also going to extract the data. We're going to extract it. And by using these two services, we can do the transformation. We can do the transformation here. We can do transformation. And once you've done the transformation, then we have to load the data into the target. We have to load the data into the target. That is loading. So my next target also is going to be Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 only. This entire thing, we can call it as, this particular part, we can call as data transformation. We can call it as a data transformation. So this is another primary responsibility for Azure data engineers, data transformations. So this is the place people are going to face criticalities. This is the place we're going to face too many questions, because here is the medallion architecture is going to be introduced. We are going to talk about it, how exactly it is going to be there. So it's not going to be directly going from AWS Gen 2 to AWS Gen 2 and just taking like that. We are going to have a bronze container. We are going to have a silver. So three different layers like bronze, silver, gold. So these three layers will be there in the data transformation. So I don't want to expand at this point of time to, I don't want to make you much more confusion. So because of that reason, I'm just saying by using the ADF and ADB, we can do the data transformation. 95% of the projects are there with the data transformation with the ADB. So 5% maybe you may have it. In my experience, I didn't come across with the ADF to do the transformation. My entire experience with Azure Data Engineering with Azure Databricks to apply the transformations. So Databricks is very, very important. So to understand this Databricks, you need to have a, we are going to talk with the PySpark style. As part of this Databricks, we are going to use PySpark. To understand the PySpark, you need a Python. So all these things I'll take care. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to go for any other place to take a training. I will take care about it. So in the downstream systems, in the later places, we are going to have, I wanted to say here, you're going to have a reporting teams. You're going to have a reporting team. We are responsible to give the data to the reporting team. And data scientist team, analytics team, whatever it is. For all these people, we are responsible to provide the data. For all these people, we are responsible. So data engineers, 100% is required for any kind of business. Without data engineers, other systems or other processes cannot be handled. Now the question is, to whom it is going to be suitable? To whom it is going to be suitable? So I wanted to give a few details here. The folks who are trying to get a job, with few years gap. Let's say, for example, you completed your graduation 5 years ago or 3 years ago, or some gap you're having. If you are having a gap, then this is the right course to settle. So you're best suitable. And the folks who are trying to migrate the skill set, So the people who are trying to migrate their skill set, if they wanted to change their career path, then data engineering is the best place. So in data engineering, I recommend to go with the Azure data engineering because Microsoft is having too many customers and Microsoft is going to give less price. So in the data engineering, Microsoft Azure is the number one place. And even if there is a freshers, for freshers also it is suitable. Even it is suitable because it was there in the academics also. Data science is there in the academic and data processing will be there. So definitely it is also suitable for freshers. But definitely they are going to take some time because it's not easy to get. And as a fresher, for every technology is the same thing. And the folks who are having non-IT experience. So these people also is suitable to take the training. So the people who are much more interested to deal with the data are the people who are having knowledge on the data in your non-IT experience or somewhere, then you are suitable for taking this course. And even if you're not having anything, I have all the gaps, but I'm not aware of data, I'm not aware of reporting, I'm not aware of data engineering. You don't need to worry. I will take you through that. So in order to work as a data engineer, what are the prerequisites? In order to work or in order to take the training, what are the prerequisites? The one is SQL is required. When you're going to deal with the data, 100% SQL is required. And SQL was introduced in the Databricks. SQL is there in the data factory. We can use wherever there is a data, whenever you're going to take the data from the database, or when you take the data from the Delta Lakes, there we're going to have a SQL. So SQL is required. So SQL is structured query language. And the second foremost important is Python. Python basics are important. This SQL is required for ADF and for ADB. And Python is required for ADB only. Okay, so in order to understand the Azure Databricks, we required Python basics because we are going to write PySpark code. So I'm going to take you through all this stuff. You don't need to worry about it. To understand the data factory, SQL is not required. So where exactly the SQL is required, even in the data factory and Databricks, we'll see that. I will take care of all these prerequisites. What we are going to provide. So SQL basics, SQL and Python basics will be taken care by us. So you don't need to take a training at any place. And PDF materials will be provided. Whatever I'm showing in this note, in this whiteboard, everything will be there with you. Whatever I'm writing here, that will be there with you in the form of PDF. and sample data will be provided, because you have to do the practice. You have to do the practice. When I'm going to take you through the use cases, I'm going to talk about requirement. Then we are going to see how we can implement it. So in order to implement it, you require some sample data. The sample data I am going to provide. And the classes will be weekly 6 days. And we are going to have a lab practice sessions also. A weekly 3 days I'm going to arrange. I will be there if possible. But definitely, as I'm doing work from home, definitely I will be available. So 3 days per week. So if you have any doubt, you can share your screen and you can get a clarity on it. Apart from the regular sessions, this is out of the regular sessions. And real-time project, I'm going to show you. So this project, you just imagine it's going to be similar to real time. So I'm going to spend almost 20 hours with a real-time project. Okay, so no one will spend in the market. Mostly they may spend 2 to 3 hours. They will give a at higher level of explanation. But I'm going to show you in my current project how we are implementing Medallion architecture. That I'm going to show you. So if you want to show that, if you want to understand this project, 100% is you have to do the practice daily with the regular sessions. If you are thoroughly with regular sessions, then you can understand this project. So otherwise, understanding this project is very difficult. So even I explained many times for many batches, but still I used to face many issues while explaining this project. You just imagine how difficult it is. But here I'm going to spend 20 hours with the project. So I may extend the session on Saturday and Sunday to explain about this particular place to make you much more clear. And I'm also going to talk about interview questions and answers. I'm going to provide the even interview questions and answers. I'll explain and I'll give it also. And if you're preparing a certification, DP 203, I'll provide the terms. DUMS will be provided. Okay, so if you can go through that, having a certification is much more important because some companies, they will see DP 203 certified professionals. The course is also going to help you to understand this certification, but I'm not going to cover each and everything of DP 203 because I'm going to concentrate more on a working professional. How you're going to work if you're going to the company. So I'm not interested to make you clear directly this DP 203. I'm here to explain how you can work in the real time. So if you want to clear this certification, this DUMS is more enough. You don't need even training. If you can go through this DUMS, you can clear the certification. But I don't want to do like that. I wanted to make you much more comfortable when you're going to work. That is important for me. So that I'm going to take you through that. Okay, and doubts clearing sessions also I will conduct. if required. So if you really people require doubts clearing session, at least 15 minutes or something like that, then definitely I'm going to take that. Okay, so if you want to talk to me one to one, I'm here to talk. I forgot one more point. Yeah. So mock interviews. Mock interviews will be taken. And resume preparation is very, very important. Resume preparation, I'll take you through how we can do it. But even if you ask me, Naukri is doing a business for resume preparation also. Even I used to ask them to prepare a profile, because if profile 1 is some design, if profile 2 is also having same design, there is some technologies, some approaches to identify how many profiles are there with the same design. So that is one of the problem. Previously it was not there. As this Naukri is providing, is Naukri is doing a business, many things are changed. Even whenever I wanted to change my position, or if I wanted to change the company, I used to approach Naukri to take a subscription. That subscription includes resume design also. Resume preparation is different. You have to give a resume, normal resume, then they're going to design with the different kind of designs. I used to do it. Even there are many other tools also, I guess. I'm not sure about it, but we can get a different kind of design patterns. Okay, so as many less pages as required, that many less pages you have to show. If I'm having 14 years of experience, if I'm showing 8 pages or 10 pages of the profile, the interviewer is not interested to go through all these pages. A recruiter is not much more interested to see all these pages. You have to shorten the pages. So that is important. I'll talk about how resume preparation is required, how you can do it. I'll give some tips, and the responsibilities are very, very important that we are going to see. And that's all about it. And from tomorrow, I mean to say from Monday, we're going to have a session at morning 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. IST. Regular sessions from next Monday, that is 20th Jan, from 7 a.m. IST to 8 a.m. IST. So because of this project, guys, again, I'm repeating, I may need your time on Saturday, Sunday also to spend the time with the project. Okay, irrespective of regular subject, I'm asking this 20 hours. This session, this particular course, this entire course will take 3 months. Almost 3 months it will take. Okay. So that's all about it. And if you have any question, you can ask me.
Classes will be from Monday to Saturday, right? 1 hour every day.
Yes, Monday to Saturday, daily 1 hour.
Okay. And in this course, like as per the current market trend, all the topics will be covered, or you will take some extra classes for those.
Extra things also is there. Basically, I don't have a time to take you through this content of the course.
Okay.
And I'll ask Sanjay to share this content to just go through them. And most of the things is covered as per the current market. So again, I'm saying signups. If you know Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks, signups you can easily understand. I'll tell you how you can make it understandable. Okay, Chandana, for you, I'll I'll tell you how it is going to be there. Because Data Factory is part of the signups, and Databricks is part of the signups. Azure Data Lake is part of the signups. So I'll give a brief idea about signups. Okay. Okay, then I'm stopping here, and we'll see on Monday. With the same link, you can join on Monday at 7 a.m. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.